What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for another NFL mock draft. This video is going to be a bit different. I am going to be the general manager for your favorite team. I am going to be the general manager not just for your team, but every NFL team. All of them. All 32. I'm the GM. Mitch. Me, yours truly. So I am going to go through every pick. I have already gone through the process of thinking about each selection, writing it down. So I won't be actually going through the process of thinking about the pick live. I already have it in my back pocket, but I will explain the process of each pick as we go through the simulator. Go through each position that I could have picked, each player that I was thinking about picking, and why I decided on that pick. I wanted to give you the most thorough understanding, the most thorough explanation possible. So I've already sat down and thought about each pick for each team and why I would do it. So this is a mock draft where I am the general manager. This is not a prediction, okay? This is not a prediction, but if you do want to see a predictive mock draft, if you do want to see my predictions for the first round, which I do feel I have a decent thought on the predictions for the first round because I've been betting a lot throughout the draft process. So if you want that, don't forget to Gronk spike the like button. If we get 50 likes on this video throughout this live video right now, I will put out my predictive mock draft for the first round tomorrow morning before the draft on Thursday night, okay? So if you do want to see my predictions for the first round, remember, this is me picking every team. If you want to see the predictions, let's get to 50 likes, Gronk spike the like button, and let's say hello to the chat. What's going on, everybody in the chat? Nicholas Gill, he says, hi, Mitch. What's going on, man? He thinks that Gardner is the best player in the draft, but he would pick Hutchinson with the first pick. So that is very interesting because when you're on the hot seat, what do you do? Do you go with the guy that you love or do you go with the guy that's safer? So let's find out what I do here with this mock draft. Let's turn it over to the simulator and let's get rolling, guys. Gronk spike that like button. Comment your thoughts on who your team should pick, what position you want your team to pick, etc. Let me know in the comments how you're doing and how you're feeling. Afix says, what's up? Josh says, hi. What's going on, guys? Okay, let's share the screen. Here is the PFF simulator. You can do this yourself if you like. Let's get to it. So, Jacksonville obviously has the first pick. I got to put the chat in a good spot so that I can see everything. Josh, what's going on? Nick says, loving the draft content this year, Mitch. Hope you enjoy creating it because I'd love to see this content again next year. I mean, yeah, it's been nice. I like creating it. I just know it's not for everybody, if that makes sense. I know that not everybody loves draft content. Some people aren't interested in it. I guess it depends on the year. It depends where your team picks, that sort of thing. So it's understandable. All right, so that should be good right there, I think. I got to have my notes open here just so I get the right pick. What's up, PL? How you doing, man? One Pride says Trayvon Walker is a bust. Well, he hasn't played yet, so we don't know that for sure. Nice to see Afix in the chat. Okay, so let's begin with the first pick in the draft. Who would I pick first overall for the Jacksonville Jags? So my pick first overall, you know what? Let's actually do this real quick. Let's do this. No, let's cancel that. Okay, so my first pick overall is going to be my number one player in the draft, which recently there has been reports that he medically is not being cleared or for some reason. I know Walter Football had some report about his medicals not being 100% or whatever. I just tweeted, I don't believe that. I think that is basically draft talk of people trying to get him to slide down the board. It could be a team like the Giants. It could be a team like the Panthers who are wanting some of the tackles to slide down to them at number 5 or number 6. I know Mike Florio brought up that Evan Neal could be the first overall pick in the draft, in the real draft. But Evan Neal would be my pick if I was the Jags. And this is why, okay? So I have Trevor Lawrence last year, who's my quarterback, my franchise quarterback. So everything I'm doing as a general manager is justifying that selection and trying to get the best out of Trevor Lawrence. Last year, Trevor Lawrence needed more room and time to operate as my quarterback. And moving forward, I'm going to need to protect Trevor Lawrence. I think about not only that, my weakness at tackle for years upon years. We re-signed Cam Robinson. Okay, that's fine. I wouldn't do that if I was a GM, but whatever. Jawan Taylor has been no good, so we got to move on from him. Now, we can even find our best guys, right? They took a guy in the second round, I believe is it Walker Little? Is that his name? They took a guy in the second round last year, offensive line, okay. Evan Neal has played left, he's played right tackle, he's played guard, so he could play all spots. If you want him to play right tackle early and switch to left later, that's fine. If you want him to play guard early, he can do that. Not only that, we saw Evan Neal at Alabama take on the best competition, face the best pro-ready pass rushers that you could see. He's the best pass blocker. And then on top of that, Doug Peterson is somebody that thrived, won a Super Bowl with a strong offensive line. So in my opinion, getting a guy that fits all of those different areas. You protect your franchise quarterback, you get a player for your offensive line, for your head coach that loves having a great offensive line. That to me is the most unselfish move you could make as a general manager here. I feel like as the GM, Trent Baalke, he might want Trayvon Walker just because he wants a pass rusher. I don't actually think that's what best suits his team. So I'm going to go with Evan Neal with the first pick. Okay, so the second pick now for the Lions. So the Lions, you look at their team. There's some good tackles on the board, but the Lions already took their tackle last year. They have a strong offensive line. Both their tackles are there long term. Their offensive line is one of the stronger ones in the league, and that's their strength of their football team. No use in picking a tackle. Where they could use some help is on the defensive line. They could use a pass rusher. So to me, who's best suiting that system? Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator. Who best suits the culture and who best suits what your head coach wants from a football player? And to me, the most locked and loaded good player at edge this year, without a shadow of a doubt, is Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson is the best edge player. He's the most ready to contribute. He shows a plan as a pass rusher. He uses his hands the best in the class. To me, he fits their system the best as well. I think there are questions about Trayvon Walker being a fit for, okay, is he 3-4 defensive end? Is he outside linebacker? Is he 4-3 end? What is he exactly? And he has a lot of potential, but I think Hutchinson is being sold short, let's say, in terms of his potential as well. Plus, he's a Michigan boy who's went to Michigan, Wolverines. There's that connection there. Fans will love him, sell jerseys, get them in seats, butts in the seats. So I'm going with Aiden Hutchinson there. So my third pick for the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, this isn't even a prediction, but I'm just going to say this. I do not believe the reports of cornerback to the Texans. I will talk about this in my best bets video. I don't believe it because knowing Nick Caserio, who is a Patriots guy, I don't think he's going to go corner at third pick. I don't believe it. Plus, Lovie Smith is a cover 2 system defense. It wouldn't make a lot of sense as the general manager, even if you think the corner is the best player, right? It wouldn't make sense because the value in your defense, it's not exactly that strong. On top of that, while I like Sauce over Stingley, the reports are that Stingley is the favorite to go third, which I don't believe because of the injury history. Nick Caserio is not going to pick somebody that's played 10 games in 2 years, third overall. It's just not going to happen in my opinion. Now, that's a predictive thing. We'll get to that when we get to that. But what would I do? Okay, what I would do is the same thing that I think Nick Caserio is going to do. I would go offensive line. Why? Because my team sucks, okay? And what I need to do is build the offensive and defensive lines. I need to build the line of scrimmage, okay? So Ike Ekwonu is a player that I think could excel at tackle or guard. He could play any tackle position, and I think he could be a great guard. So when we look at our offensive line, maybe we even have Ickey play guard in year 1. Maybe we have him play right tackle in year 1. He could play any position. And then eventually he'll be my left tackle if Tunzel ends up leaving or I decide what to do. But when this team is this bad, I've got to start with the foundation of the offensive and defensive lines. I can't go corner in a system that doesn't love corners. So I will pick Ekwonu here, 3rd overall. Okay, my 4th pick, and I'm definitely spending more time at the top of the draft here because I think that's what most people want to know. Now, this is going to be a little bit off the wall, off the board here a little bit, but this is if I was general manager, okay? So if I was the general manager of the Jets, we've heard rumors about pass rusher, we've heard rumors about corner, we've heard rumors about offensive line, offensive tackle. Now, I think the Jets' offensive line is already pretty good. I don't know the reports medically of Mekhi Becton, so I can't 100% say that that's a confirmed guy long-term for us, but I'm just going to go with I think he is going to be there long-term. I spent a high first-round pick on him 2 years ago. I'm going to continue to ride that. I've got my quarterback, but what I don't have is an electrifying number 1 wide receiver for my quarterback. And to me, a top 5 to 7 prospect in this draft, and rumors are that Jamison Williams is the top receiver on the board for a majority of NFL teams, so I don't want to risk him falling and not getting him at number 10. So as the general manager of the Jets, I'm not concerned about the ACL. I love this player. I would pick Jamison Williams to go with Zach Wilson. If I hope to compete in the AFC anytime soon, I need a number 1 receiver, and this guy breaks defenses with his speed. So Jamison Williams would be my 4th overall pick. Now, 5th overall for the Giants, I'm also thinking, okay, what does my team need? I've got a few needs, not as many as a team like the Texans, but I've got a few needs. I could use a pass rusher here. I could use a corner here if I'm looking to trade James Bradbury. I could use offensive line. And I just think there's been such an issue with the Giants' offensive line that you cannot go without picking an offensive lineman. On top of that, I'm thinking strategically, the Carolina Panthers, their biggest needs, if they're not picking a quarterback, which I don't believe they will, their biggest need is offensive line, offensive tackle. So I have picks 5 and 7. I'm looking to pick my tackle here, and the only one left in this tier is Charles Cross, who could be an extraordinary pass blocker at the next level, who the Bills, right? They pass the ball a lot. Brian Daboll is my new coach. I think that's going to be something that we see in the New York as well. They're going to want to pass the ball. So I got Charles Cross being my pick at number 5 if I was the Giants. Now, if I was the Panthers, now this is a little bit of a strange situation, right? Because Trayvon Walker in the real draft is not expected to fall this far, right? And to also explain Rick Badboy's comment here, he says Giants need pass rush. They do need pass rush, but my thing with that is Don Martindale is now my DC. If I'm the general manager, I'm thinking about how Don Martindale has succeeded on defense. He has never really had a great pass rusher. He has had great corners, okay? We'll talk about that in a second. But at number 6, the Carolina Panthers, they wanted an offensive lineman. Well, now I'm kind of messed up here. I don't really know what to do. Do I reach for a quarterback who I'm maybe not that confident about? Nah, I'm not going to do that. As GM, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the guy that everybody thinks is a freak show. And that is Trayvon Walker. Why I'm going to do that? Okay, you look at the secondary. They re-signed Dante Jackson. They signed drafted J.C. Horn first round in the top 10 last year. So that's 2 starting corners. And then you've got C.J. Henderson, who you used an asset 3rd-round pick last year to pick. So you're not picking a corner here. As much as I think Sauce is the best player available, I would probably rather go with Trayvon Walker, who I think is actually a great scheme fit for the Carolina Panthers and how versatile he is and how much they want to play this college style where they've got 3 guys on the line, drop 8 style where you could have them on the end. You could move them inside. There's a lot of different things. that you could do. So Trayvon Walker is a really, really good fit to me for Carolina. He's a better fit for Carolina than I would say maybe Jacksonville. So I would go Trayvon Walker to the Panthers. If nothing is there, if no tackle is there, if I'm not worthy of the quarterback, I don't think the quarterbacks are worthy, I'm going to pick Trayvon Walker. I think him, you just strengthen a strength and you get your defense better. Trayvon Walker with Brian Burns, with Derek Brown, with Matt Ioannidis, that's a very strong front four. And he allows that versatility of, okay, you can move him inside then and have Yetur Gross-Matos or whatever his name is come on the edge and rush on the edge. So in pass rushing situations, you could maybe take Derek Brown off the field and have Walker and Matt Ioannidis in the inside, Burns and Gross-Matos on the outside. So you got depth, you got versatility up front that you could utilize. Never a bad pick to go defensive end if no other options are available. So now we're back with the Giants. And as general manager of the Giants, I brought up Don Martindale likes corners over pass rushers. So the big pass rusher guy that I would look to get here would be Jermaine Johnson. But my top player on the board is Ahmad Sauce Gardner. So that is where I would go with this pick. I think he could play man press coverage like he did in college for my team. He could play zone. He's got great length. He's got way more, track record and safe just in terms of Derek Stingley, who's been very injured, missed a lot of games. I think Gardner's arguably the best player in this draft, so to get him at number 7 would be an absolute coup for the Giants. At number 8, this is where it becomes very interesting. As the GM, I don't expect them to do this, but this would be my pick. Okay, so the Atlanta Falcons really suck. They just suck everywhere. There's no way around it. They're bad at wide receiver. They're bad on the offensive line. They're bad on the defensive line. They've got a lot of areas of need. One of the areas of need that they don't have is corner. So I'm going to rule that off. Stingley's not going to the Falcons, and I would not pick him here. Safety, I think that's more of a luxury than it is necessarily a need. So I'm not going to go with Kyle Hamilton as much as I like Kyle Hamilton. I would consider a receiver, but my favorite receiver in the draft as general manager has already gone. That's Jamison Williams. So now what am I looking at? Okay, so I could look at edge. My top edge again would be Jermaine Johnson over Kayvon Thibodeau. But I think the pick here is I'm a team that's terrible. And what did I say about the Texans? I need some help on the line of scrimmage. And I think there's a difference maker on the line of scrimmage that is from Georgia, right? That's a beast that can help not only Deion Jones at the next level, he can help Grady Jarrett by taking on double teams. I'm going with Jordan Davis at this pick. PFF is not going to like this one, but I'm going with Jordan Davis. I think he's more than what people are saying as a pass rusher. I think he can become a Vita Vea type player, and if you were to redraft Vita Vea, you would certainly say he's a top 10 pick. So this guy's a freak athlete. He's a beast, and he's a one-man run-stopping machine. So I would take Jordan Davis at number 8. My number 9 pick is Seattle. So this is where I take a step back as the general manager, and I change my scouting from certain teams. So certain teams, they're going to value certain players over others. And rumor is that my coach and my organization really likes Kayvon Thibodeau. And as general manager, I'm willing to gamble on Pete Carroll as a great coach, a great motivator, to get the best out of this guy that maybe is a little bit raw, and maybe I like Jermaine Johnson a bit more. But I'm willing to say, okay, Pete, you've won a Super Bowl. You've been to another Super Bowl. I trust you, okay? Our biggest need is edge. We need to get an edge. We need to boost our defensive line. So even though he's not my favorite player, I'd be willing to go with the rest of my guys here and say, okay, this is the move. Kayvon Thibodeau to the Seattle Seahawks. That would be my pick as general manager. Now, number 10. The New York Jets. The Jets, we talked about it. We went Jamison Williams because we didn't want anyone to go around and get Jamison Williams. Okay? We didn't want anybody to get Jamison Williams whatsoever. So we picked Jamison Williams at 4. Maybe it was a bit high. Whatever. We want the guy. Now, number 10, Luckily, one of our favorite players that still suits a position of need is still on the board, and that is Mr. Jermaine Johnson of FSU. That would be my pick for the Jets. He fits the scheme well. I think he's arguably better than Thibodeau is. His upside as a pass rusher is immense. He's a vicious run defender. He can go on the opposite side of Carl Lawson, and now we can have a dominant defensive line for Robert Saleh, who's always been about players, not scheme. So we want to make sure he's got the most talented defensive line possible. So Jermaine Johnson would be the pick at number 10. Somebody's commenting, Fred is saying, Texans spent 3 first-rounders on the tackle position. Highly doubt Caserio would waste another first on a tackle. That's where I disagree with you. I think he would much rather grab a offensive lineman. The fact of the matter is, I don't care how many firsts they've spent. Nick Caserio didn't do it. So, that for one, there's that. Second, are they good? I mean, Tunzel, I just don't believe that he's going to pick a corner there. And again, this is my mock draft, not theirs. So, if you disagree with the prediction, that's fine. Again, this is me as his general manager and what I would do. But yeah, I think that Caserio coming from New England is going to value offensive linemen in the top 5 and not corner. That's just the way that I see it. And I just don't see them then going corner, honestly. And especially Stingley. I just think he's too risky for them. Now, Washington, you can never go wrong with offensive line if your team's terrible. Number 11. So where was I? So with the 11th pick in the draft, I'm the Washington Commanders. A couple of my biggest needs. Wide receiver, I'd like to get another wide receiver for Carson Wentz. That would be nice to have. But I do have Terry McLaurin, who's a top 20 receiver in the league, maybe top 15, right? So Terry McLaurin's my number 1 guy. You know, I'm not super stressed about getting another wide receiver, although it would be nice to have. One of my big areas of need, though, is safety. And there is a potential generational safety on the board here in Kyle Hamilton, who I think's got great versatility, who's great in coverage, very instinctual, freaky, 6'4", a lot of range. So Kyle Hamilton would be my pick at number 11. I think he's close to can't miss as a prospect in terms of, I think he's at least going to be good. And I keep clicking these things with the upside of being great. So Kyle Hamilton would be my pick at number 11. Okay, so number 12 is Trent McDuffie. That would be my selection for the Minnesota Vikings. I know that a lot of people think it's going to be Derek Stingley. Now, as general manager here, I would go with Trent McDuffie, and here's why. The Vikings, first off, Trent McDuffie doesn't have the injury history that Derek Stingley does. And I think they're very similar as prospects. I love both players. Now, McDuffie is very smart, and I think he's better in zone coverage. And the Vikings are going to play a lot of zone match coverages. And McDuffie also gives me inside-outside versatility, at least to start in his career, where he could start day 1 in the slot, or he could play outside. You know, I've got Dantzler, who's only a perimeter corner. I've got Patrick Peterson, who's only a perimeter corner. I brought in Chandon Sullivan, but I need to add a secondary player. I'm going to go with Trent McDuffie here to the Vikings as the general manager. The Houston Texans. Okay, so the Houston Texans are number 13. And this one is not going to happen, I don't think, because I just don't see it happening. Now, this is where I'm going to be honest. I don't see this happening at all. And this is a lot to do with stuff that I don't know about, and that's potential off-the-field concerns. But when sitting down and thinking about it, again, guys, I go back to the 3rd selection with where I was like, the Texans just need to get better on the line of scrimmage. They just need to get better on the line of scrimmage. And I'm not going to go offensive line here. I'm going to go defensive line. Now, I could potentially go George Karlaftis, but I don't know if that's necessarily the cup of tea of Lovie Smith. I don't know if that's really the style of edge rusher that he covets. But there is a really nice interior pass rushing force that could give us a really good player that has Chris Jones type of upside as a pass rusher, and that is Devontae Wyatt. I think he fits the Texans' front 4 very, very well. They just need talent up there, And I think he could be really good in their system. So that's who I would pick as the GM. I don't think that's going to happen, but that is what I would do if these were the options. Now, if somebody else fell, maybe at edge rush like Johnson or maybe even Thibodeau, I would pick them there. If it was, again, I don't think corner, like Stingley, you maybe go with here, right? But that would be my pick. I'm just focused on, if I'm the Texans, getting better on the offensive and defensive lines. You can agree or disagree with that, but that would be my strategy. Now, the 14th pick in the draft is an interesting one because you're the Baltimore Ravens. I really wanted Jordan Davis if I'm the Ravens. He's Haloti Ngata 2.0, but he's not there. So what am I going to do? McDuffie's gone. Stingley is there. Do I go with him? There's another guy that I know really, really well, who's from Michigan, and my defensive coordinator's from Michigan. He's going to know how to use him. He could play in the nickel. He could play safety. I just really like the fit of this prospect, and I personally, you guys saw my draft board, value him as a top 15 prospect, and I keep forgetting that they put him in corner because I feel like he's more of a safety. But that is Daxton Hill from Michigan. Obviously, the background of John Harbaugh and his brother, so they're going to know the prospect really well. He's got great versatility. He's got great playmaking skills. And I wasn't able to land a front seven playmaker, but I need help in the secondary. And I need a guy that can play potentially multiple positions. And Daxton Hill can do that. I think he could line up anywhere from outside corner to inside corner to free safety to strong safety. So I really like that fit for a versatile and hybrid defense like the Ravens. Now, 15th, we've got 2 picks with the Eagles. So the first need that I think the Eagles need is a wide receiver. But I could really go a couple different directions here. I could go with Stingley as a corner. I could go with wide receiver. And I really like the fit of a certain receiver here with the Eagles. I think that Jalen Hurts needs somebody. He's not the most accurate quarterback in the world. He needs somebody that can just go up and get it. You know, he just needs somebody that can make plays down the field. And Jalen Hurts is certainly willing to throw the ball up in the air. And he's totally different from Devontae Smith, and that is Drake London. Drake London has a totally different skill set from Devontae Smith. So my pick would be Drake London here. I think he's really good and honestly being kind of underrated at this point. He's got deceptively quick feet for his size. He is the best jump ball receiver in this class, and I think he could play inside or outside. So Drake London is my number 15 pick for the Eagles, and I got Jalen Hurts, another receiver, to go alongside Devontae Smith. The Saints. So this is where the Derek Stingley slide falls, okay? So if I'm the Saints, I look at Derek Stingley and I say, well, he's from LSU, all right? He's at home. I've got a really good defensive coach here. We've got Marshawn Lattimore. We've got a man press system. We love these type of guys. And at 16, I'm willing to take the chance that this guy turns out to be Darrelle Revis, like everybody is saying. So at 16 is where I pick Derek Stingley Jr. Probably not going to happen in the real draft, but if I was the GM, that's what would go down. Now, number 17, the Chargers. Number 17, we've got a lot of weird stuff. So we've got kind of like in a bad spot because George Karlaftis is good, but we don't need edge rusher. We don't really want to pick a receiver at 17. You know, we've got 2 number 1 receivers. We don't really need one. Linebacker Devin Lloyd could be a pick here, but we don't really, value linebacker. It's not a big deal in our system. Offensive line, okay, Tyler Linderbaum, but we got Corey Linsley at center, so that's not really the pick either. Could we go tackle? Yeah, but there is a really good offensive lineman here, and I think the Chargers need offensive line. I think the offensive line versatility of Kenyon Green, who can play tackle, who can play guard, who can do a lot of different things and start from me day one. Do I want him to play right tackle? He can do that. Do I want him to play right guard? He can do that. So the Chargers just need to protect Justin Herbert. And my favorite guy on the board here for what they need is Kenyon Green. So that's what I'm going to go with there. That was one where it was like, the rest of the picks kind of set me up for a lot of people are mocking different players there, but that's how I went with it. Tyson, and again, for people just joining, this is what I would do. This is not what I think is going to happen. Drake London would be my pick for the Eagles. I think Jamison Williams is going way earlier than the Eagles. The Eagles would have to trade up. I actually think he's going to go in the top 10, so I don't think he's following that far. Number 18. Okay. So, number 18, I'm the Eagles. I got my wide receiver. I think my next biggest need, despite what people want, the D tackles are gone. So, there's no Jordan Davis. There's no Devontae Wyatt. So, I'm not going to go there and boost my defensive line. I don't know if George Karlaftis is going to be the guy. I brought in Hassan Reddick. I got Brandon Graham. I got Sweat. So, I don't really need to go with an edge here. I got Drake London as a wide receiver, so I'm not going Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave. So at number 18, I need a corner. And there is a corner in this draft that could be the next Darius Slay. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Darius Slay. And that is Andrew Booth, cornerback from Clemson. He's got great ball skills. He's got very good speed. He's got height and length, and he played a lot of zone coverage in college. So he's a perfect fit on the opposite side of Darius Slay. He's a little bit more raw than the other corners in this class, but a guy like Slay could tutor him a little bit, given they have a similar skill set. So I'm going to go with Andrew Booth Jr. at number 18. Okay, number 19. This is where we get interesting. And Turtle, I don't know if he's going to hate me or love me for this one. Okay? This is where we get interesting. Again, remember guys, I'm the GM. I'm the GM. This is not what's going to happen. I'm the GM. I need a tackle, but we look at the board here on PFF. And do I love Bernard Ryman or Raymond or however you say his name? I can't barely even say his name. Tyler Smith, he's more of a guard. Trevor Penning, he's raw. I need a guy right now. At tackle. Quarterback, though. Every other position, I'm fine. I got defensive line. I got my corner opposite Marshawn Lattimore. I could use a receiver. No doubt. I could use a receiver. I could go with Garrett Wilson here and have another Ohio State receiver. Sure. But no, I'm the GM. I got Jameis Winston for a year. I'm picking my quarterback, which is Matt Corral. Okay? I'm picking Matt Corral. My favorite quarterback is Matt Corral. And I think he fits the Saints very well because he's got a great release, and he's very accurate in the short intermediate areas of the field. So, and he's got quick feet. So in a way, he's not, I'm not trying to say he's even comparable to Drew Brees, but he's got similar strengths to Drew Brees. And you can kind of carry on that offense and the quick passing game. So I think Matt Corral with a year to study and learn under somebody like Jameis Winston, who's going to start for me this year, is going to be my pick at number 19. So that is my guy. That is my guy, Matt Corral. If I was GM, and I think this might, I don't know. I don't think this is as crazy as people think. I think Matt Corral could be one of those quarterbacks in this year's draft where there's a team that we don't really know loves him. And it could be the Saints. I really think it could be the Saints. So, at number 19, Matt Corral. At number 20, we're going not back-to-back quarterback. I could have gone Malik Willis here, but as a GM, I watched Malik Willis's tape. I'm not convinced he is a great quarterback in the NFL. I'm not convinced. But you know who I'm convinced is great? There is a center in this draft that I am convinced is an excellent player. As of late, I have been picking up offensive linemen left and right who have quick feet and can move. And I need a center because Mason Cole is not the answer. And the Steelers are known for their centers. Tyler Linderbaum would be my pick if I was the Steelers. Let's get better on the offensive line and focus about our future quarterback down the road. Yes, he does. Corral does feel like a guy the Saints would like. I do agree with that. I remember they really liked Mahomes. So pick 21 is the New England Patriots. My New England Patriots here. And this one is kind of obvious. A lot of people are mocking this guy to the Patriots, but I think it's for good reason. To me, he's the best linebacker in the draft. He's got a great kind of well-rounded skill set of old school linebacker and new school linebacker. He was a former safety and receiver. He moves like a linebacker. He's got great coverage ability, but he also can come down and thump. He can rush the passer. He could do a lot of different things. He's a hybrid linebacker who's going to have value beyond just being an inside linebacker. And that is Devin Lloyd. So Devin Lloyd would be my pick for New England. We got to get faster in the middle of our defense. And in order to do that, we need faster linebackers. If we want to be able to play zone now versus Josh Allen, we need quick linebackers that can cover space quickly. And Lloyd can do that, but he can also contribute as a pass rusher, a blitzer, and a run defender. He's a 3-down linebacker, and he's a really good player. So Devin Lloyd would be my pick at 21. At 22, the Green Bay Packers are up. You guys know I've been saying wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. So now I'm finally the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. I finally got an opportunity to pick wide receiver. At number 22, I'm picking a wide receiver. The question is, which wide receiver am I picking? Because I got Aaron Rodgers. I've got a championship team. So I kind of need a receiver that's like ready right now. I need somebody that's going to contribute right now and be an absolute stud for me from day one. My number 4 receiver in the draft is Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. I think Garrett Wilson would be the pick here for the Packers. All right. Number 23. I'm the Arizona Cardinals now. I lost Chandler Jones, and I need pass rush. I need a lot of things, actually. But one thing I don't need, what I don't need is a wide receiver. Please don't pick a wide receiver, Cardinals. Stop it. Okay? I need pass rushers. And I've got a guy sitting here in George Karlaftis who's going to be a stud from day one. I mean, he almost looks like he's J.J. Watt's brother. He is, I think, really good in all facets of the game. Does he have elite bend as a edge rusher? No, but he's got great hands. He's very powerful. I think he could be a very good player for my defense. So I'm going to go with George Karlaftis at number 23. At number 24, this is where I'm not really sure. The Cowboys, we need offensive line. You know, and it's really between two players here. It's between Zion Johnson, who has guard tackle versatility, and Bernard Raymond of Central Michigan. It's between these two players. Bernard Raymond is a little bit more raw, but he's going to maybe have the higher upside of a great tackle in this league. So it's kind of tough. Like, it's between those two players. I think they need offensive line. If I was the GM, I would pick offensive line. I think the better for sure thing is Zion Johnson. And that is usually where the Cowboys as a team and as a front office typically tend to go. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go with Zion Johnson. Kenyon Green's off the board. So I'm going to go Zion Johnson. He offers similar skill set, similar versatility. So I'm going to go with him. Okay. At number 25, the Buffalo Bills could use offensive line as well. Do they go with Bernhard Raimann? Do they go with Tyler Smith? Those are pretty much the only guys here. Trevor Penning. But those are tackles. I see a guy in Tyler Smith who's got versatility, who can help my run game out with his viciousness up front. He doesn't have, on my offensive line, he doesn't have to start right away. He can if he shows well. But I think he's a guy that would really upgrade the interior of my offensive line, and I think that's an area of weakness for the Buffalo Bills. So with kind of a luxury pick here, do you go with Tyler Smith? I think you just continue to get better there because you spent so much on defensive line last year. So I'm going to go with an offensive lineman. I would have preferred Zion Johnson, but he went right before me, so I'm going to go Tyler Smith with no opportunity to trade back or trade up, obviously. So Tyler Smith would be the pick at 25. Then at 26, we're continuing to trend with the offensive lineman. I think the Titans need an offensive lineman. But you could look to go with the quarterback position. I believe in Ryan Tannehill enough to not go with the quarterback position. Who do I go with here? See, I actually, at the last minute, I had Bernhard Raimann going to Dallas. But during this live stream, I have changed my mind, and I went with Zion Johnson. I thought it made more sense. Okay? Rick Badboy, there was no perfect tight end for the Bills in the first round. There's no tight end that's worthy of a first round pick. So I'm gonna go with Raimann here from Central Michigan to the Titans. I think we just need to add to our offensive line because either way, we drafted one early last year, I think second round tackle, but Taylor Lewan's getting older. So we need potentially a replacement there, and we just need to find our best five moving forward. We've lost offensive guards as well. Roger Saffold left. So I'm basically swapping the picks there of Raimann and Tyler Smith and Zion Johnson because I just kind of changed my mind. But Raimann is somebody with a lot of upside, great feet. He's kind of raw, but could be a really, really good tackle in the NFL. I know a lot of teams like him as a first-round pick. So he would be a quality selection at 26. Now we're at 27 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This one was interesting because, as you guys know, I am a fan of the Bucs because of Tom Brady. So I like to put myself in the chair of what I would do if I was this team. And I just feel like I would go defense 100%. A lot of people are thinking they're going to go offensive line. I don't see it. It's Todd Bowles' first year as a defensive coach. I want to appease my guy Todd Bowles. I want to get better on defense. I think something that the Bucs are missing is a nickel corner with the hybrid ability to play safety. I'm thinking of a guy that can do that. Daxton Hill's off the board. That would be my first pick in that regard. There's another guy, though, that's great against the run. That's a great blitzer. That's very instinctual. That's good in zone coverage. My pick would be Jalen Petrie of Baylor. I like him a lot. And I think he fits the blitz-heavy defense of Todd Bowles very well. So that would be my pick at 27. You could go corner there with like Elam. You could go safety with Scene as well from Georgia. But I think Petrie is somebody that offers you more versatility. Offensive line, I feel good enough with Aaron Stinney at guard, who started in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, where I don't really need offensive line. I think Aaron Stinney he's good enough. I think he can perform at the same level as Alex Kappa did the last couple of years. So I'm not really stressing to get offensive linemen, especially at that point where all of the good ones are gone. At number 28, the Packers are back up. And again, guys, I've said it. I'll say it a million times. I've been saying offensive line, nope. Wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. I'm the GM of the Packers, damn it. I am picking another wide receiver. And I got my safe wide receiver earlier in the draft. I got the guy everybody thinks is going to be great. I think he's going to be great. Okay? Now I'm going with my guy. Okay? That's who I'm going with. I'm going with the freak show. I'm going with the game changer. I'm going with the guy that can be, if I'm Matt LaFleur, my Deebo Samuel, but also a deep threat down the field for Aaron Rodgers and a better Marquise Valdes-Scantling. Everyone's saying he's that guy. He's better. I'm going with Christian Watson as my other guy. I got Christian Watson. I got Garrett Wilson as two receivers for Aaron Rodgers. Now defend that. Okay? Number 29 is the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 29 is the Chiefs. And I was looking at Chris Olave here. I got 2 picks in a row, right? So there's a lot of receivers left. There's Chris Olave. There's Sky Moore. George Pickens. I believe there's Treylon Burks. Yep. So there's all those guys. And by the way, Christian Watson's my number 2 receiver in the draft. So I would, at number 28, that's great. Hamilton's gone. Hamilton's long gone. Number 29, the Chiefs. So the Chiefs, I feel, need 2 things. They lost Charvarius Ward. They need a corner. They also need a pass rusher. But when I look at the board, I'm not particularly tied with any of the pass rusher. Like, Ebiketie, okay. Nick Bonito, I could think about that, but I'm concerned that he's only a pass rush specialist and not much of a run defender. I don't know how well that fits Spagnuolo's defense. Drake Jackson, Josh Pascal, they're all sort of in the same tier. So I'm not really stressing there. There is a corner that I think fits really, really well with the Chiefs system. And obviously, it doesn't matter the order here. But I'm going with corner and wide receiver if I'm the Chiefs in the first round. I think that's where the value is. I'm going to go with Kahir Elam from Florida. When I watched his tape, he showed a lot of good things in press coverage, man-to-man coverage. He was weak as a tackler. I definitely need to get him tougher in that regard, but we can work on that. He's got a lot of ability to be a shutdown corner in this league, and to replace Charvarius Ward, that is my move right there. Now, I've got to look to replace Tyreek Hill. We've already added Marquise Valdes-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay, so Juju's going to be in my slot. Marquise is going to be my deep threat. We've got Mecole Hardman, who can kind of do gadget things. He's also a deep threat. He's got speed. But I'm looking to add another playmaker at this wide receiver position. And as general manager, I'm thinking about the guy that is going to unlock my offense the most. And I'm thinking about the guy that Andy Reid. I got Andy Reid, right? You got to think about this. Andy Reid is the ultimate coach in terms of offensive football. I trust Andy Reid to whoever I pick on offense, he's going to get the best out of them. So when I'm looking at this wide receiver board, I'm looking at Chris Olave, Sky Moore, George Pickens, Treylon Burks. Those are the 4 receivers that you can consider, right? I'm going with the guy that potentially has the highest upside here, and that's Treylon Burks. So that's who I'm going to pick. Because Andy Reid is going to find a way to use him. Is it going to be in the slot? Is it going to be in the backfield? Is it going to be running jet sweeps? Is it going to be on the outside? He's a big playmaker, and he can do some of the things Tyreek Hill did in that sort of fashion. So Treylon Burks would be my pick at number 30 if I was the Chiefs. Because I trust Andy Reid to get the best out of that guy. Now, number 31, I'm the Bengals. Now, this one's tough because the Bengals don't clearly have any need on their team that is really there. I mean, you could go corner here, and I would understand that. The top corner, I believe, would be Gordon of Washington. So you could go with him. But there's already been, 5 corners picked at this point? So I'm not really sure I want to go there. there is value at a position that I do think the Bengals need slightly. I think it's kind of a slightly under the radar need for them. So number 31, I am going to go with linebacker here. I really like a player named Quay Walker. Quay Walker has great range, great size, great speed, coverage ability. He's got versatility, and he would be perfect alongside Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson is my Mike linebacker. He's going to call the shots. He's going to see it. He's going to read it. And now I've got a freaky athlete like Quay Walker who I can do a lot of different things with, and he can help me cover in the middle of the field versus the Travis Kelce's of the world and that sort of thing. So Quay Walker would be my pick for the Bengals at number 31. Tyson asked, do you really see Olave going to the second round? No, this is not a predictive mock draft. Once again, this is not a predictive mock draft. This is what I would do. And as you guys know, I think Olave is like my 7th or 8th receiver in the draft, so I would not pick him that high compared to some of the other receivers that I like more. So that's just my personal preference. I think he will go in the top, at least the top 20, but probably the top 16 in the draft. So the number 32 pick is the Detroit Lions. At number 2, we got Aiden Hutchinson, which is the hometown boy. Now we're going to think about the future. And I think something that the Lions need to think about is taking swings on quarterbacks. I kind of think that quarterback, even if it doesn't work out at number 32, it's not a big deal. It's honestly not a big deal. So you could take a swing at quarterback either way. And one of the quarterbacks that I do like in this draft, that I do think has a good opportunity to be a top 15 quarterback in this league, is Kenny Pickett. And I do think Kenny Pickett fits the culture of what Dan Campbell's trying to go for. I do think, given that they traded for Jared Goff, Kenny Pickett's basically a better version of Jared Goff. I think that's kind of what they would want in their quarterback accurate. So I think that Kenny Pickett would be the pick here. I get that 5th-year option. If I'm the GM, that's where I would go with this pick at number 32 is Kenny Pickett. I know some people are saying Desmond Ridder, maybe Malik Willis. In the real draft, I think Malik Willis will be gone before 32. But in this draft, I prefer Kenny Pickett over Malik Willis as a long-term solution to my quarterback position. So that's where I would go at number 32. Now, and honestly, he could beat out Jared Goff in camp, and I wouldn't be surprised, Kenny Pickett. I'm not sure Malik Willis would be able to do that right away. Number 33 is the Jags. So we're into the second round now, guys. This is where things become interesting. I think the best player on the board, and this is ultimately what I thought of, who's the best player on the board? I've got a whole day to think about this. I selected a tackle, so Trevor Penning is not going to be the guy here, although he's intriguing as like that last guy of the second tier of tackles, in my opinion. So, if the Jags do go pass rusher and Trevor Penning is still there for whatever reason, which I think he'll be gone in the real draft, but first pick of second round, if I were to go Aiden Hutchinson or Trayvon Walker first pick, that might have been my pick. But I think a position that the Jags do need is a safety. They've got corners. Darius Williams, they signed Shaq Griffin. I think they need safeties. And I think a really, really good player is Lewis Cine of Georgia. I think he's going to be a great player. He's going to set the tone for me. He can play free safety or strong safety, great range, just a sure tackler, can play man-to-man on tight ends. I think that's my pick with the 33rd overall selection. He's going to be somebody that just sets the tone and leads my defense in the back end. Number 34. Second pick of the second round is the Detroit Lions. Now, similarly to the Jags, if I'm the Lions, I'm looking at all my defensive positions. I've got Aiden Hutchinson as a pass rusher, so I've solved my defensive line. I'm not looking to add a big, beefy guy. We spent a second and a third last year on the big beef in the middle. Our edge rush, we re-signed our leading sacker from a year ago. Linebacker, maybe you look at Nakobe Dean here. If you want a linebacker, that could be reasonable. But I don't think they really, really want linebackers. You know, they have some solid linebackers. I don't think it's like a huge need. Corner, they've got young players. Wide receiver, maybe, but I think there's value that could fall down the board that you could grab as well. So this is tough. This is ultimately tough because this is what I was thinking, right? So wide receivers, right? But I've got Chris Olave and Sky Moore. My projection for them is a inside receiver. I see them as slot receivers. And I've already got St. Brown, who is an inside slot receiver. So it'd almost make it a bit of having the same sort of guy in a way. So I would rather go with another guy who's a tone setter, who's a leader, who's a playmaker for my defense. And I think there's a guy at safety that can do that. I really like Jaquan Brisker of Penn State. I think he's a great player in terms of playmaking ability. I think he can play the traditional box safety role. I think he can play sub linebacker on third down if I need him to. I think he can come down in the run game and make plays. So Jaquan Brisker is going to be another guy that I'm trying to beef up my culture of the Lions, and that is a leader right there. So give me Jaquan Brisker at number 34. Number 35, this is where Nakobe Dean stops his fall. So I am not the biggest Nakobe Dean fan. I have brought that up many times. But I realize as the Jets, we already had 2 first-round picks. I mean, we had a defensive end in Jermaine Johnson. Need checked off. Wide receiver, Jamison Williams, checked off. So we've got 2 of our biggest needs done. We could go corner here, right? Maybe we go with a Gordon, but I project him more as a inside corner. And I'm not really going to take a slot corner here when I could potentially have a Mike linebacker for the future in Nakobe Dean. We've got CJ Mosley, but we don't really have much else at that position, and CJ Mosley is older. So Nakobe Dean with the 4-man front of the monsters I have in front of him, with Quinnen Williams and John Franklin Myers and Jermaine Johnson, I'm not that worried about his size in my defense. So I think we utilize his smarts to our advantage and make him our linebacker at 35. Number 36, we've got an interesting selection here that I have written down for the Giants. So in the first round with the Giants, we went cornerback with Sauce and tackle with Cross. So we've got our tackle. We've beefed up our offensive line. Our offensive line for now is good, right? Because we got our 2 tackles in Thomas and Cross. We brought in a bunch of interior guys to help that out in the offseason. So we're not going to look to guard or center here. Wide receiver, I'm keeping Kadarius Toney. I'm not trading him. I'm keeping Kenny Golladay. He's our number 1 X receiver. We don't need a receiver. Saquon's our running back. Daniel Jones is our quarterback for this year. Offense, we don't need. Okay. Safety, we're good. We've got McKinney. We've got Love. Corner, we've got Sauce Gardner. We could trade James Bradbury, but if we don't, we also have him and Adoree Jackson. So we're fine there. Linebacker, Quay Walker just went. We can't get Quay Walker. He'd be a good scheme fit. He's gone. Maybe we go Leo Chanel. Okay, that's maybe we go there. But we got Blake Martinez. I mean, that's a good number 1 linebacker. We've got interior defensive linemen. We've got our 2 edge rushers, or we don't. So that's what I'm going to say right there. Edge rusher. We need an edge rusher. That's one of our 3 biggest needs. So we look at the edge rushers here. And there's some good ones. I mean, you could go Ebiketie, you could go Benito, Drake Jackson, Pascal, Mafe, all these guys, right? Now, I'm thinking about Don Martindale, what he values, what he wants from an outside linebacker. Ebiketie's good, reasonable selection there, but not the most upside in the world. Benito's a little small for my defense. I'm not sure I'm going to pick him. Drake Jackson is more of a 4-3 end. Josh Pascal is a jumbo 4-3 end. So I'm looking at Mafe or Ojabo. And I'm the GM of the Giants. I trust Don Martindale here to get a potential, at one point, a top 20 pick in this draft. David Ojabo to get healthy and to become a beast. I need a difference-making pass rusher, and the only one on the board that could become that is David Ojabo. So that is my pick at number 36. At number 37, the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, we've picked our offensive linemen, our defensive linemen. But you know what? We still don't have edge rushers. We still don't have edge rushers. Now, this could be the place where Chris Olave goes. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But we already have a smaller receiver in Brandon Cooks. So is that really where we're going to go? I don't know. Is that really where we want to go? Wide receiver, when we still have issues at edge rusher, a more important position for my team, especially Lovie Smith's defense. We need edge rushers. And a guy that I know is going to fit our culture, he's going to be good right away, he's going to produce right away, because we're the Texans, we've got crappy players. We need a guy that can come in and play right away. That's Arnold Ebiketie. So that's going to be my pick right there. I'm going to have Devontae Wyatt, Ebiketie on the defensive line, and I'm starting to build my defense now. And then on offense, I've got a beast in a Kwanu who could play tackle or guard and just feast. So we're starting to really get good on the defensive and offensive lines. And that's the whole point of this draft for the Texans. And my strategy for the Texans is we need to get good on the line of scrimmage before we can get good elsewhere. So that's my pick there. At pick 38, we're the New York Jets. And there's a tackle that's fallen down the board. Early in the draft, we went with Jamison Williams, even though we could have went with a tackle. You know, maybe we're not sure about Becton's health moving forward. Maybe we're not sure if our right tackle is really going to be the future. Is it Afanti or Afeti? I always forget his name. But yeah, he was good last year, kind of, but like, is he really the solution? So tackle is something that Joe Douglas and the Jets have really wanted. And I think that we need to continue to protect Zach Wilson. So I think there's still a good quality tackle on the board in Trevor Penning. So I'm going to go with Trevor Penning here to secure my offensive line and just have an absolute beastly offensive line. And Penning doesn't have to start right away either, as long as Becton is healthy. But if he isn't, okay, Penning can go in there and he can be a starter for us. But either way, we can develop him to replace our right tackle or left tackle down the road, or be our right tackle for the future if Becton clears out as injury-free. So I think the Jets going tackle there to help protect Zach Wilson, I was going to say Logan Wilson, is a great idea. Now, 39 is where Chris Olave makes too much sense. So the Chicago Bears, obviously, and this isn't going to happen in the real draft. You know, some things in this have been, there's been players that have fallen given how I value them. So Chris Olave is one of them. Now, we've got Justin Fields. Let's not overthink this. We've got an opportunity here to get a receiver that many people projected to be in the first round. And we've got chemistry between wide receiver and quarterback. That's a no-brainer for me. Let's not overthink it. Let's just take Chris Olave without question. Okay, pick number 40 is back where we get interesting again, Rick Bad Boy. Okay, this is where we get interesting. So the Seattle Seahawks in round 1 went with Thibodeau on the edge. I said to Pete Carroll, you want Thibodeau? I'll get you Thibodeau, okay? Pick 40, we don't have a quarterback. We don't have a quarterback. Drew Lock is not the future of the Seattle Seahawks. But somebody who could be the future of the Seattle Seahawks is Malik Willis. That is who could be. There is a realm of possibility that Malik Willis could be the quarterback of the Seahawks. And I like the fit of Malik Willis with the Seahawks. So I'm going to put him in Seattle. Pick 41. We need... What do we need if we're Seattle at pick 41? So we could use a corner, but I think the corners are fine in Seattle. So I like Sidney Jones. They re-signed Justin Coleman, or they got him back, I should say. You know what I mean? So Seattle, I think the corners are good. Safeties are good. Linebacker, maybe we could use linebacker, but I don't see anybody that's pressing in our system that is going to be a great fit. Interior defensive line, I think we did enough in the offseason with Shelby Harris, with Quentin Jefferson, and we've also got Poona Ford, so we don't need a Travis Jones type player. We could use a tackle, but the tackle depth has kind of fallen off here in the draft. We might have to pick one later, 3rd, 4th round. Wide receiver, I think that would be kind of a luxury. We used a wide receiver pick on Eskridge, I believe, last year or the year before. So that's our 3rd receiver. I'm looking at edge. They need a pass rusher here, or somebody that can contribute on the defensive line. And somebody I think would be a great fit is Josh Paschal. Josh Paschal or Drake Jackson. Either one, could really be a great fit. Now, I looked at Josh Paschal as somebody that would be a great type of Michael Bennett type of player where he could go inside, he could play outside, and fit our system really well and play in a lot of different spots. But like I said, we've got like interior guys that can also contribute as pass rushers like Quentin Jefferson. So I'm going to go with the guy that could potentially be more of an edge pass rusher. Even though I think Paschal might be better and is higher on my board, Drake Jackson has a higher upside as an edge rusher. So Drake Jackson from USC, the former school, right, that Pete Carroll coached, is going to be my pick at 41. Somebody says, kind of ridiculous draft, but it's all good in the name of fun. Well, again, this is what I would do. This is not the actual prediction for the draft. If you guys want to see the prediction for the first round, the actual prediction, not using my analysis on the players, Gronk spike the like button, get to 50 likes, and tomorrow morning I will post my predictive mock draft for round 1. Okay, but this is what I would do. So that's why it's getting a little ridiculous, because I value certain players above others. So that's why it's ridiculous. Now, number 42. The Indianapolis Colts, this one was really easy. I didn't have to think very long about this one. This one is clearly receiver for me. You know, the Colts could use an offensive lineman, but again, there's so many good receivers here. And I think one of them that fits really well with the Colts, really good route runner, really good inside slot receiver, is Jahan Dotson of Penn State. Tough. He just feels like a Frank Reich receiver. So I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson at pick 42, which I think the Colts would be, going nuts if they got him. So at number 42 is Jahan Dotson. Now, we're sticking with wide receiver at 43 because I went Jordan Davis at pick 8 for Atlanta. But Atlanta's other pressing need is we need a wide receiver. We need somebody. And Sky Moore is one of my favorite players in the draft. He's great as a slot receiver. He's going to break a ton of tackles. Arthur Smith could use him as a hybrid playmaker where you could give him the ball in the screen game, the run game. He's a great kid. He could play on the outside. He could play on the inside. I think Sky Moore at pick 43 is a great pick for the Atlanta Falcons. Then we've got pick 44, which is the Cleveland Browns. And right away for the Cleveland Browns, I thought of receiver or defensive line. And honestly, I have wanted the Browns to get better on the interior defensive line for quite a long time. And if you look at the Cleveland Browns, this is the first pick of their draft, by the way. If you look at the Cleveland Browns depth chart, it is very slim on the defensive line. They need depth, they need players, they need guys that can start on the interior. So, Travis Jones is who I thought of, but then I was kind of like, well, Travis Jones is more of like a 3-4 player, right? The Browns aren't really going to value a Travis Jones the way that a team like the Ravens would, who are after them. Logan Hall, though, is somebody that's getting first-round buzz, is a little bit smaller. You know, you look at his measurables. He's 6'2", 283. He can move inside to play interior defensive line for the Browns. I think that's the pick for the Browns. Logan Hall. Now, pick 45. 45, we missed out on Jordan Davis. Atlanta picked him, but there is another good interior defensive lineman still on the board from Connecticut, Travis Jones. Let's not get too complicated here. Calais Campbell's getting older. Brandon Williams is getting older. Travis Jones is a great run defender who could play nose tackle, who can also give a little bit of pass rush. So Travis Jones is the pick at pick 45 for Baltimore. At pick 46, the Vikings. So with the Vikings, I already went with the corner. I went with Trent McDuffie. Now, again, I am trying to fix this secondary. I am trying to make this secondary good. Because we play Aaron Rodgers, right? And if we want to compete this year, we need to get our secondary to the next level. And we have another corner who's sliding on this draft. We really like him because he played with Trent McDuffie. He played a lot of zone. He played the same system. They've got chemistry already. Kyler Gordon is going to be, we're going to beef this up, our secondary. So Kyler Gordon and Trent McDuffie. Give me both of them for Minnesota as the general manager of the Vikings. Now, Washington. At least one of those guys is going to be good, if not both. Pick 47. Pick 47 is Washington. So I brought up in the first round, Washington's two biggest needs are safety and wide receiver. Safety and wide receiver. By the way, just going back to the Vikings conversation, a lot of people think that they need an edge player. And I'm just saying, like, Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith are there. They don't really need an edge player. I'd be a little bit surprised. I've heard receiver, which maybe, but I didn't really love the receiver options there for them. So at number 47, Washington. Again, safety or wide receiver. We solved safety with Kyle Hamilton, so I'm moving to wide receiver. Wide receiver, you wanted, if you want a big receiver who can make plays, that can be your X type of receiver, that can complement Terry McLaurin with his size, George Pickens is your guy. So that I think he's worth it at pick 47. He's maybe a little bit dicey earlier in the first round or second round, but at pick 47, he's worth the roll of the dice there. He has a lot of raw talent. And as a number 2 right away, I think he can make plays for Washington. So George Pickens is number 47 to Washington. Then number 48. Number 48, the Bears. They need a lot of things. I think the Bears are low-key one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're low-key one of the worst teams in the NFL. So they need a lot of things. They need offensive line, but offensive linemen kind of gone. I mean, according to PFF, Abraham Lucas is the next guy. And that's very dicey because a lot of different people see it differently at tackle and at guard. So offensive line isn't really where the value is, as much as that's the need. So defensively, Robert Quinn's on the trade block. We lost Khalil Mack. We lost Eddie Goldman. We lost Akeem Hicks. All those guys are gone. We need defensive line help. And we're shifting schemes, right? We're shifting towards a 4-3 system. And a guy that really does fit the profile of a what's his name? The system that was ran in, I'm forgetting the head coach's name for the Bears. I don't know why I always do this. Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus's system. Pascal is an edge player who I think fits this system very well. So I'm going to go with Josh Pascal here to the Bears. I think he's got good versatility. He can set the edge very well, but he's got good pass rush value as well. So he's the type of player that, with a well-rounded edge player, that I think they would value. So that's why I would go with Josh Pascal at pick 48. At pick 49, we're back with the Saints, and the Saints have made some bold selections. They've went earlier with cornerback Derek Stingley. They went with quarterback Matt Corral. So what do we need? Well, we need wide receivers. We need maybe defensive line. We need tackle. And again, tackle is a position where I'll just show you. Tackle's not really there, right? I don't know. Maybe they're reaching. Maybe teams like some other guys more than others. Same thing with guard. I don't think the Saints need, but I'm just showing you guys for the sake of it. So for the Saints, I think it's wide receiver. I think they need a number 2 receiver and a totally different type of receiver than Michael Thomas. And one of them who's got some vertical speed, who can win on the outside, I think is Alec Pierce of Cincinnati. I think Alec Pierce can play off of Michael Thomas very well. He's a big go up and get it type of receiver with some speed, right? George Pickens a little bit slower, but that's who Washington went with. Alec Pierce makes sense for New Orleans there. Number 50, Kansas City. Kansas City, what have we already drafted? Corner and wide receiver. Those were their 2 biggest needs, in my opinion. After that, we've got to think about pass rusher. We on purposely went corner and wide receiver due to the value at the end of round 1. Because edge rusher wasn't there when we picked in round 1. But edge rusher is there now. Okay, there's a couple players that make sense here. Nick Benito as a pure pass rusher, and Boye Mafe. Somebody that's commonly been mocked to the Chiefs for good reason is Boye Mafe. Boye Mafe makes sense because he's one of those guys that kind of feels like a Justin Tuck. You know, Steve Spagnuolo had this type of player, 6'4", 260. He can play on the edge. He can move inside. And he's got a lot of raw tools. So I think that would be a good pick for the Chiefs at pick 50. We've got a corner, we've got a wide receiver, and we've got an edge rusher with Boye Mafe. Pick number 51, the Eagles. We've got a receiver, Drake London. We've got a corner, Andrew Booth. Now what do we need? Well, maybe we could go back to the defensive line, but we've already kind of got a Nick Benito. We've got Josh Sweat, right? So we don't really need that. I mean, we don't really need that type of edge player. There's no real defensive lineman that I love on the board. Maybe you could go linebacker, but I think it's a little bit of a reach for one of the 4-3-esque linebacker types. We like Avonte Maddox at nickel, so we're not looking at Roger McCreary. But there's another position that I think the Eagles need, especially long term, and that is safety. They need safety. And I think the best safety on the board, who's one of my top 50 players in the draft, is Brian Cook from Cincinnati. Big guy, great tackler, 6'1", 206, was a part of a great defense in college. And he can come downhill and make hits. So Brian Cook is my pick at pick 51. I really like Brian Cook. So the Eagles end up with 3 good players at 3 positions of need: corner, wide receiver, and safety. Next, we've got the Steelers with their second selection in the draft. The Steelers are second, yeah. So Malik Willis is gone. Malik Willis, we were thinking about in the first round, but we ended up going with the safe choice of Tyler Linderbaum. And we're going to go with Trubisky this year and take our chances on quarterback down the road. Could we go with the Desmond Ridder? Maybe, but personally, as the GM, I'm not a huge fan of Ridder. I don't think he's a future starting quarterback, so I'm not going to go with that. Right? What could the Steelers use? They could use youth on the defensive line. So I'm looking at defensive line here. I think a great scheme fit, who's actually a very underrated player, is Fadadrian Mathis, if that's how you say his first name. But Mathis of Alabama fits the prototype of a Steelers defensive lineman. 6'4", 310. Right? Really good run stopper. I think they need to get younger at that position. So that's going to be my pick for the Steelers. The Green Bay Packers at pick 53. This one was tough because I didn't really want to reach here, but I don't think at this point it's really a reach. It's late second round. We've got our receivers now, and really the other pressing needs aren't there. I mean, could we add a pass rusher? Sure, but we don't need to this year. We've got enough depth there where we're happy, and we could always sign a veteran off the street to give us some depth, right? So that's not a huge deal. Nick Bonito, maybe, right? Maybe. So I was thinking about it, and I think they could go with offensive line. I think the Packers really need to add offensive linemen. I think they need to, because David Bakhtiari is getting older. And at the other spots, they're kind of lacking a lot of depth and quality players on the interior. So somebody that is well thought of is Dylan Parham, who has the versatility to play tackle or guard. And just read you the scouting report here from PFF. Parham is an athletic interior offensive lineman who played well at multiple positions over his college career. Earned a 90.6 overall grade at right tackle in 2020 before putting 78.8 at right guard. He'll end up a center or a guard in the NFL. So that's somebody that can play a multitude of positions with some versatility and adds depth to an area of need to help protect Aaron Rodgers. So that makes sense. I'd rather go guard in the second or third round for the Packers than the first round. So that's my pick there. At pick 54, the New England Patriots are on the clock, and I thought about a lot of different picks here, and honestly, when I was sitting here doing the first simulation of thinking about what positions they could go with, I honestly regretted picking Devin Lloyd at 21 because I see Leo Chanel is still there, and I love Leo Chanel from Wisconsin, and I think he's a very good linebacker. So if I would have to do it over, maybe I pick a different receiver at number 21. But we got Devin Lloyd, so we can't really double dip at linebacker, even though that might be where the value is for our system. Maybe we could still go there. I mean, that's totally up to you. But there is a player that was too hard to pass up still on the board. Every Patriots fan wants this player. He's got chemistry with Mac Jones. He's a big game player. He's a smooth, crisp route runner, and he helps the wide receiver position. You guys know who I'm talking about. There he is right there. 21-year-old John Mechie. That is my pick at number 54 for the Patriots. As the GM, I had to do it. It probably won't happen. I'm picking John Mechie for my team. At pick 55, who else do we got? Okay. 55 is the Arizona Cardinals. So the Cardinals, I think, need corners at this point. So in the first round, the Cardinals selected, I can't even remember. Oh, an edge rusher. So they picked George Karlaftis, which I like that pick. So pick 55, you could go receiver, but I think they need corner help. And I think they need somebody that can play inside or outside. They need some feistiness, some man-to-man ability with as much as they like to be aggressive. So I think Roger McCreary is a decent fit for them from Auburn. I really like Roger McCreary's tape. He's a first-round corner on tape. He's just small, and he's a little bit, his length is a little bit leaving something to be desired. But as PFF says, ultra smooth, rarely sees much separation, and he was battle-tested. Again, McCreary played Alabama, LSU, all these great receivers. So he's somebody I would look to go with who's pro-ready in the second round for the Cardinals at a position of need. Okay. The Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are pick 56. So pick 56, We got an offensive lineman in the first round. Another position of need for the Dallas Cowboys is linebacker. I thought about Nick Benito here, but I then thought about, okay, well, Randy Gregory, he's gone. That would kind of be the replacement. But then we got Dorrance Armstrong. We've got Micah Parsons, who can be a pass rusher when we need him to. That would kind of take Nick Benito out of things, right? And we've also got another edge rusher, my favorite guy, who I'm forgetting his name from. He's formerly played for the Jets, but I won't waste your time on that one. We could go corner, but we spent some corner picks last year in the second and third round, so I don't really want to go there. So linebacker, I love Leo Chanel, but I was thinking about getting the best fit for Dan Quinn, and I don't think that's Leo Chanel. I think he's more of a 3-4 type of guy. You know what I mean? He's a little bit bigger bodied. So there's this guy named Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma. He's a little bit smaller. He's 6 foot 226, but he's got great sideline to sideline ability, great coverage skills, a lot of raw tools to be a great coverage player. And think back to this. The Cowboys wanted Keanu Neal to be a coverage linebacker for them, and that didn't work out. So they're looking for this type of player. That, to me, makes a lot of sense here in terms of their need. I'm going to go with him. Okay. Then after that, pick 57. This is where we get fun. We're the Buffalo Bills. We picked an offensive lineman in the first round because we just wanted to add some depth. But I can't help it anymore. One of my favorite players in the draft is still on the board. He is a freak of nature. He is a beast. And when it gets cold in Buffalo, we can hand this man the ball. Sure, maybe he's not the most refined pass protector and pass blocker in the world, but he can be our Jonathan Taylor. And at running back, second round, I'm going with Kenneth Walker. That's my pick for the Buffalo Bills at pick 57. Pick 58, we got the Atlanta Falcons again. We've got a great draft so far. One of Mitch's favorites. Pick 8, Jordan Davis. In the second round, we got Sky Moore. And now, we're just looking at value, right? We need a lot of help. There is a great scheme fit for the Atlanta Falcons here. You know, there's two players that I really considered. Nick Benito as an edge rusher and Leo Chanel. Leo Chanel is a perfect Dean Pease linebacker. Perfect. Nick Benito, I don't know, he's maybe a little small for their defense, but he does give pass rush. So this one was really tough. Ultimately, though, I went with Leo Chanel just because I like him more. I just like him more, and I think he fits the defense better. Even though it's not as big of a need, I think he's just a really good player and fits Dean Pease very well. So that's why I went with Leo Chanel. Now, pick 59, we're going to come back here with the Packers, and we're going to go with Nick Benito. Why are we going to go with Nick Benito for the Packers? Because they could use a third pass rusher. And this is the perfect spot for Nick Benito because now he can be that rotation pass rusher that I love him as. He's got great bend. He's got great pass rushing ability, right? But he can sit behind Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith. You can take Preston Smith, move him around on third down, stick Benito on the end of the line of scrimmage, and let him pass rush. You know, you don't got to have him play on the first and second down or the clear passing situations. Get Benito out there. He's going to make an impact. And hopefully he can develop into a starter down the road and replace Preston Smith. So that's the great pick there by the Packers at 59. At pick 60, before we get to that, we got Grimjaw 649, who I can't say I've ever seen you before, but I appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you so much. He says, not going to lie, Kenneth Walker, nice in the second. But what would you think of Tariq Woolen? Just want your opinion. I don't hate that. I don't think he's a second round pick, though. I think you could pick him in the third or the fourth. And I honestly think third round sounds about right because of his tools. He makes sense for the Bills, but he needs a lot of work. Okay, so as a team that needs to win, like as a team that's favored to win the Super Bowl, I always prefer to go for now players, like players that are ready to play. And even if Kenneth Walker he's a running back, whatever, he's going to make your team better this year, a lot better. He's that type of special. So you said you like that pick. But yeah, I think you could get Woolen in the third round. And I don't think you got to press to get him in the second. Tampa Bay now is another team like Buffalo, who they could go with really anything. I think that they could use some youth on the interior defensive line. Ndamukong Suh's getting older. He's going to be back. William Golston's getting older. They re-signed him. So they could use a partner in crime for Vita Vea for the future and add some depth there and lessen the load for guys like William Golston and Ndamukong Suh this year. So I see a defensive player, and he's actually listed as an edge player here. DeMarvin, I think is it Leal or Leal? Either way, Texas A&M. He's kind of a hybrid defensive end, interior defensive lineman, kind of like a 3-4 end. He's 283. He's kind of built like William Golston, 6'3". And this is what PFF says about him. 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He was a top 10 player in the preseason draft board, but he didn't improve as much as we hoped. In fact, his run defense and pass rushing grades took a step back. He's a gifted athlete, 6'4", 290, but the lack of development is worrisome. So he's got a lot of upside, and that's the type of pick I think you gamble on if you are the Bucs. So that will be my selection at pick 60 overall. He fits their system to me very well. Okay. Pick 61 is San Francisco. The 49ers, they don't need a heck of a ton. If Deebo Samuel sticks around, which I think he will, I'm not gonna go with receiver. Running back, it would be maybe a little early, but Breece Hall could be enticing for Kyle Shanahan for sure. Quarterback's Trey Lance. Tight end, you got George Kittle. Defensively, you're strong. You fixed corner with Charvarius Ward. Could you go safety? Maybe. But I do think you need offensive line. And I think there is a good offensive lineman with some good feet that can move, that can fit the zone system rather well, and replace Tomlinson, who left to the Jets in the offseason. So my pick here is, I guess he's listed as a tackle. My pick here, can I even find him? Sean Ryan of UCLA. So he's actually rated much higher by a lot of other people, but he's got great feet. He met with the 49ers throughout the process already. Physical run blocker, fits the 49ers, who currently plays tackle for UCLA, but likely profiles best at guard. He took a massive step forward in 2021. So they see him as a third-round pick, but he's got a lot of upside as a guy that just started playing guard. I think he's a great fit for this system, so that's who I'm going to go with. Also, he's a California kid, so it makes a lot of sense. And then at 62, we've got the Chiefs once again. So I went with a guard tackle hybrid player for San Francisco for some depth on the O-line, which is where I think their biggest needs is. 62, you've got the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I think I picked Boye Mafe for them already at number 50. But the value on the board right now is still in the front 7 to me. Could they go and with a guy like Breece Hall as a running back? I don't think they will because they're scarred over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But if it was me, I would strongly think about that because I actually think that Clyde isn't the answer and that you could use someone explosive at running back like Breece Hall to get the most out of that offensive line. But they also signed Ronald Jones, so I'm not really like super all over it. So 62, I think they could continue to beef up the defensive line. I think they could still use defensive linemen, and there's a defensive lineman that I think is a good player that's got a bit of a hybrid skill set. 6'4", 267. He's one of those jumbo defensive ends that the Chiefs seem to like. He's got the power to his game. Cameron Thomas is ready to contribute this year for a team with his ability to utilize his hands. I think he's a high floor guy at number 62. So that's my pick for the Chiefs. Continue to add to that defensive line because Frank Clark's not going to be around very much longer. So they went offensive line heavy last offseason, defensive line heavy in this draft. We've got 2 picks remaining, the Bengals and the Broncos. So my pick for the Bengals, we're going to finally hit tight end here. Trey McBride is on the board, and this is about the spot that you pick him, in my opinion. Good receiver, knows what it is to be a number 1 target in an offense, can run routes, can be tough over the middle, is sort of Dalton Schultz-y to me. I'm going to pick Trey McBride at number 63. They lost CJ Uzoma. They brought in Hayden Hurst, but Hayden Hurst has never proven to be a number 1 tight end. I like Trey McBride to the Bengals at 63. And then at 64, the final pick of the draft, the Broncos was really tough because they have done a good job. They know they don't have a lot of picks. They have done a really good job of addressing all of their needs, addressing offensive tackle, offensive line. They don't need a wide receiver. They maybe could be a team to go tight end, but Trey McBride just went in front of them. They re-signed Melvin Gordon to back up Javonte Williams. They got their quarterback, obviously. Defensive line interior, they brought in DJ Jones. They brought in Randy Gregory on the edge. They're a stacked team. They've got a really strong roster. Their safeties, they brought in Kareem Jackson once again. So they're fine. Really, the position I think they could use is linebacker. They have yet to sign Johnson back, I believe. And really all they've got there is Josie Jewell. So I need a linebacker that can contribute, that's got some good skills, and that's really smart. And is a good mix between run thumper and pass coverage guy. And to me, that's Chad Muma. Chad Muma of Wyoming is going to be the final pick of the 2nd round. There it is, guys. The 2-round mock draft of what I would do if I was the general manager of every NFL team. All 32 NFL teams, that would be my way to go about it. If you guys want to see more mock drafts from me, if you want to see more mock drafts, let's try to get to 50 likes. Tomorrow, I will put out my predictive mock draft for the 1st round, what I think is actually going to happen. This time was my general manager mock draft. If you want to see the predictive mock draft, Gronk spike the like button. Try to get to 50 likes. I will put out that predictive mock draft tomorrow. Appreciate everybody tuning in here. It was a long one, but hopefully I served you well with information about what I think your team needs, the type of players that I think fits your scheme, who to look for, to go where, and things of that nature. And hopefully I informed you on all of these different prospects. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, Gronk spike the like button, subscribe for more. And I will also tonight be posting my best bets for the 2022 NFL Draft, so make sure you check out that video as well. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. I will be live Thursday night for the draft. I hope to see you there as well. Peace.